from Las Vegas, where we looked at one of the witnesses who alleged to have a seen perpetrator who we saw subsequent to that was assassinated, I think about 6 days later. And we raised the question as to how could it be. And there's several things about this we want to share. I want to go back to that spot. In fact, here's Tupac and Biggie together during the period when they were together. And I want to take this tape back to the Vegas Strip, moments after Tupac was shot. And this witness is trying to talk to the police. The police are unsettled by the witness. And this commotion eventually, and fingering, eventually led to the potential witness being assassinated. Then we're going to go up to the night Biggie was shot. And we're going to look at something happening around the car. We're going to look at the press conference where they describe the description of the shooter. Then we're going to look around the edges of the car at some actions, reactions going around the car, and it's instantaneous. If you don't, you ain't watching it carefully, you wouldn't notice what was going on around the camera. And then I brought some footage from what'll almost be a month from now. What would this be? What's that, 94? That's 94. This will be the 3rd anniversary. This will be the 3rd anniversary, 30 days from now about. Is it 94? Is that correct? 94? 94. This will be the 3rd anniversary of a terrorist action transacted against Brother Khalid Muhammad. And I'm sure many of you all saw, I was a little late tonight watching Fujimori, who was a Japanese transplant who moved to Peru on the orders of the Rockefeller family. And even though he didn't even live in Peru, they elected him the head of Peru, and the first thing he did was to crack down on the little people in Peru and enacted martial law. A man, foreign man, became the head of a country. Though he was Japanese, he became the head of Peru. And of course, Shining Path and the other organization, Tupac Amaru, there we go, Tupac Amaru, the 15 members allegedly who were in the compound since December 17th, allegedly were assassinated. Japan is on edge because the militaristic act against Japan only makes it vulnerable to retaliation. No one wants to deal with someone in a way that they would get dealt back that way. You choose your terms of endearment. And if someone goes to the sword, then it's guaranteed that they would get the sword. That's why I raised questions about the black community who would repudiate its own militants, knowing that if they don't have the sword, or they don't have the power, or they don't have the will to be the fighters, why would they want a team of bloomer girls? Why would they want a team of religious leaders? Why would they want a team of balloon blowers and not want a militant team along with all those other things that somebody might, a team of sewers, a team of street washers, a team of clothes repairs? Why would you not want a militant operation as well? This is a 20th century quirk. It took 100 years to get a community to believe that it didn't need a military. It took 100 years to convince us that to deal with the white man, we need absolutely nothing to work with. We don't need any think tanks. We don't need any research. We don't even need debate. We don't even need open discussion. Because the relationship with the white man 100 years since then has evolved in a way that only butt naked do we feel that we have the honor and the respect to stand before a white man and advance our race. And of course, there aren't many weapons you can hold butt naked. Don't forget on Saturday at 2 o'clock to 6 o'clock in Baltimore, Reality is going to speak on Reality Speaks, who are holding a conference on COINTELPRO with myself and an ex-FBI agent who, in spite of hearing everything about COINTELPRO, still joined the shit. So we're going to act like he's really so in awe and so against COINTELPRO that he can still go and be employed by the same people. butt naked in the FBI. Was the name of his book, called Eyes of My Soul, Butt Naked. You all know I challenged this man who went to New York and spoke before a Lambe Brass organization and excited the crowd about being anti-Louis Farrakhan and how the FBI don't monitor Farrakhan because he don't do nothing. And then we know that the formula of intelligence is what? What is the component? What is the formula of all intelligence probability scales? Brother Robert.
Capability.
Strike.
Intent plus capability. Equals threat.
Intentions plus capability equals threat. Now let's go back to 93 and 94 and look at the dawning and the coming strong of Khalid Muhammad and Brother Malik and the Unity Nation, and the whole D.C. was on fire. D.C. probably was not as on fire as it had been since the peace demonstrations of the 60s when they had Operation Merrimack, which was to stop Negroes from drifting downtown and inhibiting business in Washington, D.C. Operation Merrimack, it scored all over the town to sort out anything that went that way. And you remember the student protest of 1993, the taking over the administration building, the fighting to keep Atwater off the board of trustees. At that time, there was even a NEA force, which didn't last either. It could not sustain itself, even though the enemy only got stronger. And then something happened in D.C., but intentions make change. Capability, people coming by the thousands, equal a greater threat. A greater threat. And this is now an uncontrollable threat. This is a threat that don't owe nobody no secret out of no past assassinations. If you owe somebody out some old paperwork, it's not likely that you're going to be a high threat because only they know that you don't have the teeth that you borrowed from because you sold it away in a previous encounter. So intentions plus capability equal threat is a real deal. A loose-knit, free-wheeling, take no hostages operation that respects no enemy.
Check.
See, we got a problem. We respect the enemy.
That's right.
That's right.
Last night, even though they're being victimized like a dog, it wasn't 15 Howard students at a program for their benefit.
That's right.
Check.
That's a scary thing. In fact, as Khalid said, Malik said, and I agree, they were afraid to be there.
That's right.
That the cost was accessible, amenable. You couldn't have had a better relationship. Opportunity right around the corner from the campus, the biggest, closest building we can get to.
That's right.
Then the white boys are right around the corner tonight at the other location, and I think much of that police brutality has much to do with the stadium coming down the street, National Public Radio, headquarters down the street, and all these other things that are moving in this way. So the threat potential is high. And under that circumstance, the build-up came. The building up, the playing up, the magnification, the over-magnification to the point that someone would say, I believe it was Jesse Jackson, well, you know, sometimes when you talk a certain way, you got things coming. Sort of type of thing of, you know, you reap what you sow, dog. As if the seeds that he sowed won't come to his doorstep, another man sealed with paperwork from a previous assassination. Dangling on him like the Malcolm X movie could have dangled on others. The dangle wilts the threat potential. The dangle. I dangled. I told you, something was wrong. We got an indicator when Winnie Mandela couldn't speak. And you all know it was right in this room the night before the second Million Man March. I said the only thing I got to look for, I didn't know Brother Khalid was going to get to speak, but the only thing I had to look forward to was to hear her cut loose.
Right.
Because I felt that the other voices had already been tamed.
That's right.
But then in front of 300,000 supporters, some mysterious instructions. See, we got this bad habit. We can take instructions from nowhere.
Nowhere.
Instruction, we gotta leave the room. College, your lecture is over. People got up, said we gotta go, it's 6 o'clock or something, we gotta move outside. People start moving outside. So where did this come from? I don't know. Somebody handed it to me. Who gave it to you? Somebody gave it to me. Get to passing it long enough, no one will question where it came from. Mysterious instructions saying she can't speak. I mean, what they gonna do? I thought that the greatest thing in the world would have been for Mandela to have to be seen as locking up his woman and letting the assassins of Steve Biko go with amnesty. We needed to see that. They needed to push it to that. But you know what? These ain't protesters.
No, sir.
See, if you're a protester, you push it. I appreciate Brother Malik say, I'm gonna go on the campus, I'm gonna push it. I'm gonna go to the Holocaust Museum, I'm gonna push it. Push it. And the pushing, people say, ooh, I like that. And they flooded the Crampton Auditorium.
That's right.
They saw something that's buried deep inside of them, but they eat shit every day when they don't think they ain't got enough supporters to go forward. So people eat shit.
That's right.
And so the operation that cuts the shit makes a threat to the opposition. So the build up, the build up, the build up. And it's happened in multiple situations. Even the East Coast, West Coast rivalry was a build-up. Right. This was a secondary plan for the Bloods versus the Crips thing that got smothered over by the young men who, I remember I was in L.A. when they all went to the park and they put the tanks up there. They tried to provoke them into fight. They had a picnic together. And I forget what the park was out there. Brother Khalid, they all had a picnic, and the feds and Gates was still police chief then. They were incensed. They tried to propagate this thing into something to keep them from laying to rest disagreements. Then that brought us to the other question about what role does rap play in black liberation. And I have had to say that up until this point, in '92 we did the lecture, The Attack on Rap and Other Black Youth. And in that lecture I had schemed that this manifestation of young black men who were creating their own music with limited overhead, scratch, 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 scratch. That's limited overhead. That's why I'm so hot on these athletes, because again, if you are Dennis Rodman or Michael Jordan, you don't need to build a factory. You don't need to pay workers. You ain't got unemployment insurance on your $1 million or $2 million that you're worth. These are men who ain't got nothing but gym shoes free, gym shorts, jock straps, t-shirts, limited overhead operation. Now you got 5, 10, 30 million with nothing to have to pay but your house note. So your money might be greater than another man who might be worth 3 million but got 60 employees and anything can happen to him at any minute. So we've got this misappropriated perception. So now we have, remember it went through with the public enemy thing over Professor Griff and Chuck D and Jewish people.
There you go.
And Dintenkopf, who was head of CBS, who jerked them in. They had Public Enemy didn't get paid for album number 1, didn't get paid for album number 2. They were in court fighting with CBS to get the money. It was about $275,000 per person online. And all they kept doing was dangling it. Well, you know, we still got to go over to the court. Well, okay, so we'll wait, we'll hold. They just had a reunion conference, reunion concert a couple of weeks ago in New York, Madison Square Garden. Madison Square Garden with KRS-One, Public Enemy, and DNC, right? And they even brought Griff up with Public Enemy. So it's taken all these years to recover from the initial attack. And then we went in '94 and did it again. This was during the Sister Soldier crisis when what's the boy Clinton pulled Sister Soldier out like a prop at the Jesse Jackson conference on a 4-minute speech about she was at war with white people and made her renounce that she didn't really mean that.
Sure did.
And you know they had a secret press conference. They tried to have a secret press conference right over here in the auditorium of the Blackburn Center. They came in and told me Sister Soldier got a secret press conference here tomorrow. And I said, why would we want her to meet in secret with whites? And I told the audience that night, and everybody showed up the next day. They had a huge press conference, and it protected her. So that when they asked her a bad question, the audience hissed and booed in a way that they rescinded bad dialogue. Don't nobody need to be going away with no whites all alone, like they're going to resolve the dilemma after the whites get through repainting everything they're saying. That's not going to happen. Yeah. So we went through it with Sister Soldier. Sister Soldier's not even a rapper anymore. In other words, there have been casualties casualties on the way to these casualties, but now shooting has become the last option of the hunky.
Right.
That's right.
When Zig Brzezinski, we were right over here at the conspiracy to destroy black men. Zig Brzezinski, out of control, global turmoil to the 21st century. How will the white man deliver on the new federation?
Right.
He said the predominant threat to the new world order was what?
Young black men.
Young black urban males. Now, what is Khaled's factor with a young black urban male? What is Malik's factor with a young black urban male? And if it has deep potential, then we needed our own intelligence analysis to have forecast the fact that we were ringing the bell in such a way that we had to take a deeper precautionary context. But then we're not necessarily all unified on the end part of the game. Opening, closing, middle. We did Revolution 101. And that was an excellent lecture you did for Reality Speaks on Revolution in Baltimore that night. Had some good science in it.
Check.
Good science categories. Revolution, what you do, when you do that. You up in the lounge one night, back in the winter or something. Not too long ago, you was there, Scotty was there. I forget the area, but there was an excellent discussion about the format and categories towards unfolding an organization towards a revolution. And the bottom line is, all our end games are not the same. People do not perceive all of the same endings. We ain't never had a conference on the end of what ills us. Ain't nobody ever saw it through that far. Ain't nobody ever felt that. Because when you get close enough to them, they tell you, well, you know, America will overwhelm you. How can you talk to America like that and be tax exempt? How we gonna get a grant when you talking like that? Because what was really on the line was grant money, not honor or morality.
Check.
We don't have any sacred moment for the abuser. They're supposed to get dirt, dog, knife, stab, kick, bottle rub. When do we start putting on gloves and dinging the bell after 3 minutes and sitting on a stool getting wiped off?
That's right.
When we start doing that,
Right.
let me come back. I'm going to come back on my big conference next month and I'm going to get you. It's not that. That doesn't have an end game to it. See, why don't we have an end game? See, in the end game, I just tell you simply how I see it. In a chess match, you got all sorts of players when the game starts. In the beginning of the game, you use your pawns to take control of the board. Anybody here play chess? Anybody here play chess? If you use your pawns effectively to link them together to get control of the board the way you want to fight, your middle game will unfold about the way you want it. How would I want my middle game? I'd like to trade my rook, trade my Jesse Jackson for their Pat Buchanan. I'd like to trade my rooks. If I saw the opportunity to get them two off of the board, I'd take them out. Let them mutually cross each other out on crossfire one night and just push them on out the street. Say, sorry, we cross out. We in the middle game. Mutual cross out. Mutual cross out. So in your middle game, you trade your bishop for a knight. You may even trade a rook for a bishop. An unequal trade, because what you want to do is you want to get rid of these bigger pieces now. Now you don't have a need for Jesse Jackson or the Ministerial Alliance. You don't have any need for the Association of Black Educators. You can trade them away. Trade them away for the white educators. Trade the black psychologists for the white psychologists. Trade the NBA for the ABA. These are lawyers now, not basketball. Trade them away. Trade the black doctors for the white doctors. Trade them away. Because ain't no revolutionary black doctor breaking down the tenets of white medicine.
That's right.
Ain't no revolutionary black lawyer breaking up the legal scheme-o.
That's right.
It ain't going on. So since the professions aren't busting up the professions, let's trade them off.
That's right.
Let's just trade them away. Now we're getting late in the game. It starts to get a little foggy out. And only people connected together will have power. So he's a pawn on one row, and I'm a pawn on another row, and he's the pawn behind me. Now the three of us together, linked together, having traded off the bosses, is bad, motherfuckers. Because eventually we will link ourselves together to the 8th row. And we'll recrown ourselves. Make ourselves whatever we want to, But only pawns linked together in the third side of the game can win in a thought-out endgame. Pawns linked together. So now, when you get and try to figure out how are we going to deal with them and that, when we get to that, go trade them away. Wash them away. Trade them all. Give them back. Hostages, you can have them. Trade them away. So we can get to the pawns linked together. But I bet you, if you were to ask any of the professions, they will tell you that without society, they can't be professionals.
Right.
So they need all that we don't want just to be who they think they are. So we have to question them, the oath takers. That's how we got into the rotation of those who oath take to something that could be beyond themselves. And that we would feather these things out. It doesn't mean that they're all bad. It doesn't mean that they're not, you can't work with them. But it does mean that we have to question each other before we get to the moment when we don't have time to question each other. It's all right, you can agree or disagree with someone at any stage of the game. And to know them is the heighten of your relationship, is to know them well. Hey, you know, you can count on me to do this, worst come to worst, consistency. I can count on you to do that, worst come to worst, consistency. We don't have to agree or disagree. We can just agree that we know each other well enough to be effective together. Shortstop, third base, leadoff man, cleanup hitter, all of them got different roles, and we just ain't really lugged everything out so that everybody can do just what it is that they do to make the whole thing come about. So we're going to go back. I want to go back to this little segment of, what's that thing with Robert Stack that we showed last week? Unsolved Mysteries, which I was intrigued, even in hindsight, that they would even have time to do a Tupac. That they would recreate the Tupac. Imagine them standing out there recreating the Tupac assassination. For what reason? Questions that we raised in the past. Dick Gregory raised the first one. He said that Tupac had on a bulletproof vest that day. Of course, it's obvious when you see him in the shorter shirt that if he did, it would be an unusual form of vest that would have been able to have withstood his open armpit sleeves. The question of why were they not armed? Why would you have a bodyguard that only guarding with his body? Hey, but one team of people do that. So, somebody asked me last night, said, well, where are the bodyguards? I said, well, you want to start some shit? The question was, well, I don't see nobody in the door. I said, that don't mean it ain't heaters in the room. So we just decided if somebody come in with the gun, they pull it out, we shoot them. Now, who is the shooter? Look around. It could be any of them. So the person stepped out and said, yeah, you're right. Went on, sat down. All right. Went on, sat down. You know, so you have to be on security like that. You have what you have, and you have what they think you have. That's right. Yeah. And that's always your edge. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if them people they looking for went underground at that embassy. They talking about they all dead, they was waving the flag and doing march songs and say how they defeated the rebellion, but they might even went on, that might have been a deal to leave by the tunnels or something. They'll tell you the body's all burned up. We don't have no evidence of the 15 body. You don't never know what deals these whites cut to save face. They're in the face thing. They're into the face. So to save your face, or face-saving mechanisms they use for people, you know, I mean, you come in here and defuse my march, I'll play you up in the press. Face-saving mechanisms, mutual interaction between enemies. Now, let's see if we can pick up this part here. Find my watch around here somewhere. Let's see what we got here. Okay. Let's push forward here. This is BET doing some activity. If BET could be really black, I don't even want to say entertainment. But could you imagine if they was all news for 4 hours? They had the Khalid Muhammad call-in national radio open line talk show. None of these people broom constituencies, therefore they're allowed to be on the media. I remember when Baba Malik called me up and said, man, I got a show on WPFW and I'm going to have you on as my first guest. And he called me back and said, I'm going to have Mark Thompson or somebody. I said, Baba, you won't last another week. Next week he called me and said, Baba, I'm off. I ain't got no more show. I never got to be on. It took away my first show, right?
No, I was on 4 weeks.
For 4 weeks, okay. You mean I missed on? Skier, right, Skier Muhammad. I remember him back in the rebuilding of the nation, showing up in Chicago, being that early editor of the Final Call. Right, on the rehab. Oh, now this was something we wanted to see. We looked at this last week. This is Tupac and Snoop Doggy Dogg and Bakewell and others out in front, Hammer out in front of LA, speaking against Proposition.
And getting y'all to get out there and vote.
Rapper Snoop Doggy Dogg, Tupac Shakur, and...
Of course, I don't have amplification, so it's the best we can do.
We got to get out there and vote. We got to make sure that they don't fool with all that calling things a civil rights initiative, and we know it's nothing but the 52 fake out. 209, we against 209.
They're voicing opposition over the latest proposed constitutional amendment in California.
Proposition 209 will turn back all of the gains that African American people and other people of color have made over the past 25 years.
By name, it appears to be a cause most African Americans would support. But take a closer look at California's civil rights initiative known as Prop 209, and you'd be surprised how this proposition could affect your life.
The California Civil Rights Initiative is going to end affirmative action in California. That's what it will do. It is deceptively called a civil rights initiative. But just because you call something a civil rights initiative doesn't mean it's about civil rights.
Opponents of the initiative say it's the strongest effort yet to outlaw preferences based on gender and race. It would affect all public schools, universities, government, and those lucrative government contracts.
If this proposition passes, all outreach targeted at African Americans and women and Latinos and Asian Americans
Overwhelmingly. That poll of the record label's highest-selling artists have agreed to stage a concert with proceeds going to fight the initiative.
Imagine if the proceeds went to the Khalid Muhammad Freedom Fighters Institution.
All fam got 3 million, and we keep going. That means we represent that many votes. If we can represent that many votes, we got to let these politicians be scared of us.
But supporters of Prop 209 say they're ready for battle, too.
Continues tonight, and joining us with an up-to-the-minute report is Sergeant Greg McCurdy of the Las Vegas Police Department.
This is interesting dialogue about the witnesses.
What is the latest? Are there indeed no suspects?
Because I can challenge this statement he
Right
makes.
now, we're at a junction of this investigation where we're even offering a reward for people to come forward. We have taken $1,000 from our secret witness fund and offered a reward for any information that could lead to the apprehension of suspects involved in the shooting. This is an unfortunate incident in our city. We would like help. We've been trying to talk to people, and we've been talking also to authorities from Los Angeles Police Department, Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, and also the Compton Police Department. So right now, we're at a junction of this investigation. We need someone to come forward, give us a vehicle description, license plate number, or something.
Sergeant McCurdy, it's very common, unfortunately, in many inner cities like Washington, D.C., Chicago, Los Angeles, for drive-by shootings. Is this an unusual occurrence in the city of Las Vegas?
Well, we're like any urban city anymore. We have our share of drive-by shootings, and this one was particularly interesting because it happened so closely to the Las Vegas Strip on a very busy night. This is a bold act, very brazen act that took place in our city, something that we're not proud of, and it's just amazing to me and to our homicide investigators that no one's come forward with any specific information on the suspect vehicle or the...
Let's stop right there. How many people did he say came for? How many? No one. He said no one came for. Do no one mean 2 people? No one mean nobody, right? Now that strikes me as strange because we know we had a footage of the witness right there, right after it happened, standing right there doing what? Testifying, being interviewed. Say, I saw him, and he's nervous, and they put that camera right up on him. But how many people did he say? And in fact, even after they killed that witness, 2 more people said that they too tried to identify the shooters that night. And what happened?
They didn't call him back.
They didn't call them back. They didn't want to show them nobody. Didn't show them no faces. Didn't want to put them in no lineup. Didn't want to do anything that would allow them to tell. So the question becomes, on that level, is there police cooperation? Because how many people he say it was? Now, somebody else said, hey, I did try to tell, and I told him. What then happens to the perpetrator? But because there's no computation in relationships, there's no response to the perpetrator. Now, he's out in the front. I remember when Khalid got shot. I remember the little idiot AP reporter who kept saying, hey, it was a 45.
Everyone knows.
Everyone knows. I saw it in his hand. And what was it? What?
9 millimeter.
A 9mm. But he was the first person on television telling everyone he saw it for sure. In fact, I thought it might even been a scapegoat put up there to misidentify stuff, to start putting doubt in it. But either way, I think the signal was either way you sent him, its fate is sealed. So at that point, they just stayed in the stall for a while, because since they didn't feel they get no relief from either fate. And that's an option that Brother Khalid effectively took away. Said, let him come on back out. Let us have him for a while. And but he was the first one, and the press magnified this man. Was it Thomas? So I've been trying to, sometimes you be out, you be looking for these people showing up at other things. I forget that man's name, but I have him on film. But I just was intrigued by the fact that these opening people who had these definitive statements, when in fact it may not be correct.
How are you dealing with what appears to be a code of silence among those who do know something?
Code of silence is a mafia
We're
connection.
going outside of the immediate circle of the people who may know things by their involvement in that caravan of cars. We're trying to work with other officials to develop information that would cause Mr. Shakur to have been a target, or even Mr. Knight has been a target in this particular shooting that took place.
Now they want to study motive, but they don't want witnesses.
What developments came out of that?
Like, let me get in your business. Let me see your pockets. What you got in your pockets?
There was nothing. He gave us nothing that would really help us in this investigation, and it took him several days to come forward. So we're hoping that maybe he'll have a change of heart, maybe he'll recall something, but you have to recall that he was also being shot at. And so in his position, it may be difficult. It's quite startling when you're receiving gunfire such as that.
So did he just refuse to answer your question?
No, he talked, he cooperated, just was not able to give any information that would lead right now to the apprehension of the suspect.
Okay, thank you very much, Sergeant, for joining us.
You bet.
What's his name, Sergeant what? Huh? Sergeant McCurdy? This is a little BT CIA drug thing. And Joe Madison, he the one fought for Chase Chavis out in NAACP. Switch him around, he a revolutionary on the CIA. He be on in the morning, and Ali Nora be on in the afternoon. They're on the same station, mutually crossing each other out. They're a bishop for a night. This is Tupac playing with the ancestors again. I told y'all about this last week. Walking around with Red Fox and Danny Hathaway back there and Jimi Hendrix and them always. Can't be doing that, playing with them ancestors and stuff.
Tupac created this album cover.
Now,
This is Suge's dialogue about how he wanted Tupac to be remembered.
I like to see it. We'll see Tupac. The man that he is.
And as a personal
Marvin Gaye.
his best friend, the record executive has now tattooed Tupac's name on his arm.
Yeah, he only gave his mother that money. Huh? You know Suge? No Suge? Me neither. Johnson tried to hook me up with him one time.
Can't nobody arrest him. Can't nobody try to put him down.
See, I don't like this either.
Shots at him. Can't nobody hurt him.
Hey,
I'm going to get to get away from me. I'm coming through the wrong side.
So Suge said he was in heaven, huh? So Suge said he was in heaven.
Yeah, and I didn't like that because Suge kind of gave it like, you can't hurt Tupac now, he's free. We gotta quit getting manhood out of the Marines, freedom out of death. Well, we gotta quit choosing these oddball options, Somebody said, well, Coakley's free now, he's dead. All that having to do a lecture every week, carrying them boxes around to your raggedy and stuff.
All niggas commit suicide.
Right.
The whole black nation.
Right, you be Thomastown or something. Yeah, I want to get, what we're trying to get here is add Tupac on it over and over again. His comment is that he had just had the tribute in New York. They had a tribute to New York for Tupac. And he's talking about that event with Travis the Punk. Now I got this guy that night over there at the church, I can't stand him. And his dialogue against you about how he'd never sit on the podium with someone who would be an advocate of not voting was an insult. Because if we voted him on BET, is that what we getting out of it? We voting him in? I mean, what are we getting out of this if this is what we got? 1 hour talk with Travis the Town. That night got me going, y'all. I had to tell y'all, I was talking to the TV. I missed the show, but I got to somebody brought a tape to me, and I was talking to the TV. I was so mad. And that Alvin Toussaint with God. This is saying how Tupac was with Digital Underground, making juice, this and that. I just got to get this to the spot where, I think it's coming up right now, where we walk into the unsolved mystery reenactment of his assassination attempt. Tupac made an interesting thing, there we go, make an interesting thing in it.
That situation with me is like, what comes around goes around. Karma, I believe in karma, I believe in all of that. I'm not worried about it.
Well, again, these are not options that we start choosing in our dialogues. It's something we got to deal with on another level. Come on. Of course, it was that record that sent Dr. Dre to his own record company because he felt his song got stolen and given to Tupac.
What song is that?
California Love. Because he really, Dre is even more in the song. Tupac had just come out of jail. Let's go.
Suge got him out of jail.
Suge, yeah, that's the Suge contract, which is a handwritten contract through that attorney boy, Kenner, who really needs to be questioned. He really needs to be kidnapped and then questioned. Kenner, he's the allegedly the power of attorney, who now Suge alleges misappropriated millions of dollars. Tape. This is another interview of his. Thanks, Brother Bruce. Yeah, I really need to clean these all down. Clean these all down to a single tape. This is from the car to the fight in the casino.
The investigation into Shakur's murder has become a tangle of chilling speculation and conflicting theories. Tupac Shakur, one of rap music's most popular and enigmatic artists. His autobiographical songs reflected a dark trait he knew all too well. Alternately described as a street thug and a charismatic poet, Tupac won the adoration of millions. By the age of 25, he had cut 4 platinum albums and starred in 5 feature films.
I thought he was a brilliant man. Thought he had a lot of vision, a lot of foresight. He was very creative. He was an artist, and at the same time, he was a revolutionist.
He was a great person. He was extremely charismatic. He was very intelligent, very business smart, very funny, very warm, intelligent, caring.
According to those that know him best, Tupac Shakur never expected to reach his 25th birthday. He was wrong.
According to those
Only by
who know
3
best.
months. Shakur's untimely death has raised a host of questions, given rise to 3 distinct theories about his murder. A murder that occurred as Tupac Shakur relaxed with friends in America's playground, Las Vegas, Nevada. September 7, 1996. Las Vegas was operating at full capacity. Thousands had gathered for the heavyweight boxing match between Mike Tyson and Bruce Seldon, held at the world-famous MGM Grand Hotel. Tupac Shakur was one of the many celebrities who attended the fight. He was accompanied by Marion Suge Knight, CEO of Death Row Records, Shakur's recording company. This photograph of Tupac and Suge was taken after the
Again,
fight
it's bulletproof
around 10:55
vest question.
p.m.
Is that a piece of a bulletproof vest, or does he not have one on? Gregory said he did. I don't know what source he's using to verify that, in lieu of that shot of his arms and chest.
To pack a weapon, as was should, and many people in the entourage, they weren't armed that night, and everybody said they felt safe.
Reporter Kathy Scott is writing a book about the murder.
So it was a very festive mood. They were, obviously, they were playing the music loud, so they were in a party mood. They were flirting with women.
At 11:10, Tupac and Suge pulled up to an intersection and spoke with two unidentified women.
Now this is interesting too. The decoy women.
The two were looking at the girls and talking to them. That's what the witnesses had told the police. And that's when a white Cadillac drove up on the passenger side next to Tupac and opened fire. Tupac tried to climb into the back seat and didn't make it.
Now let me just ask you one question. For Unsolved Mysteries to do the reenactment, who did the testimony? Since Unsolved Mystery wasn't on that corner, who told them that the shooter went like this and went like that and got out the car, stood over the car? How you gonna do a reenactment without a script? Huh? Right, and that the girls were in the whole scenario. And imagine someone come to you and say, hey, look, I need you to act in this little film I'm shooting, reenacting the Tupac, and then somebody standing there with a script directing this reenactment. Can't do that without an understanding. And so that becomes a mystery on the Unsolved Mystery. We can start solving them. We just got to figure out what the real mystery is.
Knight took off in the opposite direction.
Now this is interesting too. Why did Suge Knight go in the opposite direction? After the shooting, he drove in the opposite direction for a mile before he just drove up to a casino. What did he do in the 8 blocks going in the opposite direction? And would you not have drove your car since you weren't injured after the car?
He finally stopped in front of a casino 1 mile away. Tupac Shakur was in critical condition. Shot in the chest, in the hip, and in the head. Suge Knight had escaped from a slight bullet graze in the temple.
I would like to examine that wound. Slight bullet graze in the temple. Where's the temple area? Right here? Okay. So he's on the side of Tupac. Did he have his head turned? Then did the grazed bullet go out the other window? Was his head turned this way? Was it a graze going that way? Yeah, the magic bullet theory. Because he's just driving. His head's got to be slanted in one direction to get a graze in the temple.
He was looking out the passenger window and could have came straight at him.
Been looking out the passenger window and it could have come straight across him. Right, just by an inch it would have missed him. And that's why I would like to examine.
Very hard.
I'm talking about a matter of an inch.
It still doesn't break down, because if that is the case, then Suge Knight would have been hit. If it was coming in and he was looking out, the bullet going down.
No, it could have come across his face, like I'm looking out the passenger side and I'm looking like this, or I'm doing this or that. It could have, but I question that, because your face would literally have to be straight even with the shot. Not a slight tilt, because it could graze the front of your head and go in the back of your head. If you just slightly dent it. The other point to that is, if you are trying to kill an operation, because he went and got Tupac out of jail. Some of these guys, Warren G and others, they was just made. So the question becomes, when you want to kill an operation, why would you not want to kill the main man, the maker of the men, and end up shooting just one of the men he made, or that was made along with him? Because I wouldn't say Tupac just made it being with Suge, But the point of it is, if you're really stepping on an organization, or why lead a perpetrator? And it's sure the one that hung old boy out the, what's his name, a white boy, yeah, hung him out the balcony. It's sure who Dr. Dre said stood him down. It's sure who everybody say threatened with the strong arm. Why is it that Suge wasn't moved on? Because it seems so to me, if you left him living, all he would do is come for you. And if you had the time to kill him and get away, what did it mean just to lean over and get the other guy? I don't know. Did he run out of bullets? I don't know. I don't know.
And what the other cars do?
That's the interesting, because behind them,
Police say only one person offered a glimmer of
here goes the witness. This is the witness thing.
Car behind him.
one of Tupac's backup singers, was riding in the car directly behind Suge and Tupac.
He told police that night that he could do a photo lineup, pick out the gunman from a photo lineup.
How many witnesses did the police sergeant say they had? How many? No one. And then he made a point about Suge coming in days later. Where we at now? How long ago is this? An hour, 2 hours, 10 hours? We're talking about within 3 hours, maybe 2 hours, maybe 1 hour, maybe within 30 minutes. But brother man on the point want to look in everybody's pockets for a motive when he ain't even doing the crime scene move. No one. I found no one.
What about the girls they was talking to?
The two girls have never materialized, whether that was real or unreal. The key thing is whoever the shooters were had to know the route. Because you got 10 cars in a row, you just gonna see the 10 cars and drive up on the side of them? And what was it, a 3-lane drive? Because you got the women on this lane, you got them in this lane, where the shooter at? He getting out of the car in this lane. Is he on the sidewalk? He in the parking spot? What, is this a 4-lane highway? You been to Vegas? Except for on the strip, it ain't wide around Vegas. I mean, it's open, but it ain't no 4-lane, 3-lane things running around off the strip. I don't even think the strip is 3 lanes.
It might be 3 lanes.
I know that. You know, they put the meridian in the middle now. They closed the center off. They put this long enclosed thing for the main street. So then you got these streets going on the side of the center street. And I remember where the Luxor and the what's the other one with the Lion, MGM, are facing each other. And that's that one big streets that run up through there. And I think it's 4 lanes, but 2 on each side with just a turning lane. Extra, that turning lane like you use here. Anyway, that needs to be assessed. I've gotten a hold of a fireman that showed up at the scene.
Apparently not accepted.
Let's go back to this gentleman here. Notice how he's getting fingered. He's getting fingered by...
In a stunning turn of events, Biggie Smalls, a.k.a. notorious B.I.G., was himself gunned down shortly after leaving a party in Los Angeles. The similarities between his death and Tupac Shakur's are impossible to ignore. Like Tupac, Smalls had been attending a highly publicized event. He too was in the passenger seat of his car when another vehicle pulled alongside and an unknown gunman opened fire. And as in the Shakur case, eyewitnesses have been unable or perhaps unwilling to provide much information. Despite the similarities,
which was not true either.
Speculation that the attack on Smalls was retaliation for Shakur's murder. Police have yet to find a direct connection between the two shootings. Despite the heated rhetoric, there is no proof that the East Coast-West Coast rivalry had anything to do with Tupac's death, leading to intense speculation about a third possibility. Perhaps the murder was an inside job.
One homicide detective was that everybody went deaf, dumb, and blind. They were surprised because they said, these are professional bodyguards. They're paid to guard, Tupac. He hired them for this purpose, yet they didn't see anything.
The only person who reportedly did see something, Yafu Fu, never had the opportunity to view a photo lineup of possible suspects. Within a week of the shooting, he returned to his home in New Jersey. 2 months later, Fula was gunned down in the stairwell of a housing project. A random act of violence or a premeditated murder to keep Fula from talking to the authorities.
He was their best bet. He was right behind the car when it happened, and he said he believed he could identify the gunman. And now,
this is the same woman who said that the homicide man didn't say nothing.
That's Matula Shakur's son.
Oh, the
one who was killed.
Oh, yeah.
Matula was only Tupac's spiritual father, but that was the real Matula Shakur's biological son.
I
don't mean Matula Shakur, I mean Sekou Odinga.
Okay. Deep. Now, I didn't have the thing to freeze it, because they didn't read that article.
he was their best bet. He was right behind the car when it happened, and he said he could identify. He believed he could identify the gunman. And now Fula's dead, and they don't have that anymore.
Authorities have always maintained that Fula was the only eyewitness willing to talk. However, just 2 weeks ago, 2 other members of Tupac's entourage claimed they told police from the beginning that they had a clear view of the shooter.
From the beginning?
They say police never asked them to view a photo lineup. The police say the men initially denied seeing the shooter, but have now re-interviewed him. Ironically, in one of
That's just going through the reenactment.
He was something that brother was saying about being in the back seat. He said something in the remarks of, well, I was in the back seat, but they never really let you hear what he
was saying. Correct. And that's interesting. I wonder who it was that actually shot the video that they worked off of.
Right.
Who shot that video? Because it might have been those other people might have also been in there. This little piece here is just a little side piece. This is about bone meal that's fed to cattle that have people eat the bone meal and get this strange disease. Then they found out that, like mad cow disease, and found out that the organic vegetables, the organic growers take the bone meal and pour it on the organic stuff, the fruits and vegetables, and found out that all these people were dying coming up off the bone meal. They went all to Africa with the thing. It was eating animals, or they said this or that, but that's a whole nother story. We're moving this to the part where we left off, went to the Biggie side of this, and in the Biggie side of this, the car is shown, and then you're going to see, this is only going to happen quickly, you're going to see 3 individuals walk past the car and turn their heads so that the camera doesn't show their face.
Sure.
And I don't have the slow motion thing.
Different place, and it got so wild.
To show you now, this is BET lady saying, we just had a party. We just had a party in LA, and it wasn't no shooting. It ain't that these parties have shootings at them naturally.
Basketball tournament over the weekend to raise money for sickle cell anemia.
This is during the Biggie shooting weekend.
Nate was there, Warren G was there representing the West, and they were kicking it with Humpty and Mace from the East. They raised a lot of money for sickle cell anemia. It proved an important point that we can't.
See, I said it's what hurts me about being irrelevant. The managers taking them to irrelevant fundraisers.
Thank you, Angelique. Well, besides scoop on
it's going to be so hard.
That with sickle cell and helping a doctor they never met.
Night sit there and talk about Tupac is up in heaven. He's supposed to be such a gangster.
Right. With heaven. Yeah, I don't get it.
In prison last month,
Tupac asked the question on
by eating for 5 hours before Tupac Shakur was shot. Well, the weekend will be here before you know it. So what better way to enjoy it than to take MTV.
Go ahead. This is coming up on the description of the shooter and the press conference held by the LAPD. Here we go.
Rap Artist of the Year at the Billboard Awards in 1995.
Wallace was considered a rival of rapper Tupac Shakur, who was fatally shot in Las Vegas in September. Some
All they needed was an excuse.
Sorry, talk loud.
All they needed was an excuse.
Yeah.
But as Chief Investigative Correspondent Brian Ross reports, police suspect
The devil's got all the stories. The devil's got the stories. But why did the devil go get the story when it treaties
Some of
me?
the language now disturbing.
Yeah, this album is dedicated to all the teachers that told me I never amount to nothing. All the people that lived above the buildings and I was hustling when they called the police on the night.
His real name was Christopher Wallace, who in just a few years went from dealing crack on the street corners of Brooklyn to sipping champagne in a mansion in the suburbs as the rap recording artist known as Notorious B.I.G. or Biggie Small.
No need to worry, my account handles that.
He was the king of rock on the East Coast. Without a question.
Early this morning at
They had to see his body come off the plane.
Biggie Small was returned to New York from Los Angeles, where he had been shot and killed
Now watch
over the
this.
weekend in the latest round of violence that has plagued and sadly come to symbolize a style of music that has captivated millions of Americans, black and white.
It's a sad world where you can't even go to on the coast and go out and enjoy a party like everyone else because you think somebody's going to kill you.
Peter Thomas, a rap music...
Why are all the shootings in cars? Tupac,
minutes before he was killed.
Enos Cosby around his car, Jordan's daddy around his car, a Biggie in his car. But the car seems to be the least defensible position. Which is why I mentioned last night, Suge and them going to the armored cars. They start throwing grenades and shit. Doing Old Glory, putting the fire underneath the car.
Biggie Small's murder follows by 6 months, almost to the day, the remarkably similar killing in Las Vegas of Tupac Shakur, an equally big name in the world of rap music, who it turns out was a bitter rival of Biggie Small, and whose band, investigators believe, may have been responsible for the murder of Biggie Small. There was a time when Tupac and Biggie Smalls were close friends, rapping together, staying at each other's apartments. But with fame and money came jealousy, as Tupac first accused Biggie of stealing his lyrics, and then went out and stole Biggie's wife, or at least claimed to, in an incredibly obscene song. And in 1994, 2005, Julian shot 5 times, including once in the testimony. Tupac publicly blamed Biggie Small.
And what security was it Tupac had then?
And recorded a music video
Notice the security?
in which he confronted an actor who resembled Biggie Small.
Please don't kill me.
It was the beginning of what was portrayed and hyped as a blood feud between Tupac and his people on the West Coast and Biggie and his people on the East Coast. Whether or not it was true, it sold millions of CDs and tapes. Biggie Small talked about it for a program to be broadcast this week on Black Entertainment Television.
We two individual people, we raised a coastal beef. You know what I'm saying? One man against one man made a whole West Coast hate a whole East Coast and vice versa.
All along, Biggie Small, even as he was making it to the top, named New Artist of the Year by Source Magazine, never forgot what he learned on the streets of Brooklyn, as he said on a Miramax documentary, Rhyme and Reason.
Anybody see that?
I saw it. I got it on tape.
In fact, in the last few years, he had been arrested in both New York and New Jersey on weapons and assault charges, including one alleged on 2 autograph stickers with a baseball bat.
Yeah, and they gun them last week every night.
What's the difference? You know what I'm saying? So it's blah, 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 12 o'clock in the afternoon. Murderers wake up dead.
Talking about his music in a recent interview, Biggie said he was trying to get away from his tough guy image with a new album due later this month called Life After Death.
Big Papa ain't going nowhere, you know what I'm saying? And if you thought the first album was a fluke, hold your head. Because this next one, man, it's all like you never thought.
Yeah,
The first album was called Life After Death, and we ain't taking no prisoners.
In the last days of his life, Biggie Smalls had gone to Los Angeles, Tupac's home turf, creating such a commotion that he and his entourage were kicked out of the Four Seasons Hotel. On Friday night, he was a presenter at the Soul Train Music Awards.
What's up, Cap?
Let me just stop that 1 second, because others have said, and supposedly this is in the Wall Street Journal article, that the feds had something to do with getting them kicked out of the hotel. That the FBI that was trailing them had done something to facilitate getting them out of there, to move them to a spot, I guess, where they wanted them. And I don't know where it was they moved to. Anybody familiar with that? Nobody? All right.
Heard by a West Coast audience. Throughout the weekend, primetime has learned, Biggie Smalls' every move in Los Angeles was being tracked by an undercover team of agents from a federal task force here in New York, investigating alleged ties between some of Biggie's business associates and the New York Genovese Mafia family. It was the...
Where the Genovese Mafia family from? And where were they at? So now you got FBI getting on plane, procuring a hotel, procuring planes, procuring food. We ain't even talking about the LA FBI office picking him up on coverage. We're talking about the New York FBI going to LA. It's not likely that you cross jurisdictions. But then they said it was a special FBI task force, which only then only had to mean that this so-called, I saw this, the special FBI task force had to be so secret that members of the FBI didn't know it existed. And the Genovese Mafia, when they was doing John Gotti, in fact, last week they had the boy on, the bull, who was knocking out Gotti. You ever hear him mention Genovese as a rival, or throbbing, or thriving? In fact, so now we got a black man being accused of being a gangster with no white people in it. I mean, we ain't even heard what the schemo was around the cycle of this so-called interaction between forces. But they chasing the brother for this. And just like when Sam Giancana got killed, CIA was watching him going before the hearing. They drive away when they hear a mysterious noise.
Night, he was a presenter at the...
And he gets shot while they drive away.
Cheered and jeered by a West Coast audience. Throughout the weekend, primetime has learned, Biggie Smalls' every move in Los Angeles was being tracked by an undercover team of agents from a federal task force here in New York, investigating alleged ties between some of Biggie's business associates.
How did they miss the hit?
New York Genovese.
They drove away.
It was the next night he was shot after attending a crowded music industry party. Just moments after, undercover surveillance team had pulled off Biggie to follow one of his associates.
Now hold it. Now how did the party end? The fire marshal comes in and says it's too crowded. Everybody thought things were going very smoothly. Biggie and them are over in the corner at a table. Biggie got a broken leg. They wait till everybody leaves the place. Biggie comes out last. They're going to drive away because they say they saw his associate drive away. Yeah. Well, no, Puffy was with him. Puffy we got Puffy on an interview later describing that moment. He was in the car behind Biggie. Said when the shooting came down, he runs up to the car, opens the car door up, tries to talk to Biggie, but he don't talk. I can't get him to talk to me.
I heard he left him a few minutes before it happened.
Well, he comes up on the interview and gives his own statement, and that you know, it's important, never take for granted that they didn't say two things. They could have very well said two things. The lady couldn't identify the Cosby man, but when she found out there was another witness, she could. Then she does the description of the witness. Then when she sees him in the lineup, she don't know him. So it ain't go anywhere.
People duck in. I hear a couple of shots.
In seconds, Biggie
Now, there we go. Watch this. Watch this now. Watch him turn away. It's quick now. It's quick. It's quick. They're going past the car, but they don't want to be seen. I'm sorry, I'm shouting.
And the New York Genovese Mafia family. It was the next night we were
Watch it. Slow. Quick.
A crowded music industry
I can't
party.
slow it down.
Just moments after, undercover surveillance team had pulled off Biggie to follow one of his associates.
I see girls screaming, people ducking. I hear a couple of shots.
In seconds,
What are they doing? What are they trying to get away from? What did they look like?
Well-executed hit.
What did they look like? Did it look like Nate Islam? Or we say people in suits. Oh, now let's go back. Go back. Unfortunately, I can't slow it down. But the question becomes, what are they ducking for? They're all registered.
In seconds.
One. Look at him being. Look at him being the ball. What they ducking for is quick now.
In seconds.
Look at it. Look at it. Look at it.
Like Tupac in the passenger seat, according to the... In seconds.
Let's see that little short guy. Scooch pass like
in the passenger seat.
Where is he coming up from?
Huh?
Where's he coming from?
I don't know. It's now this is just shooting the car. This is just the camera. Not too long after we're shooting the car, and they gonna walk past the camera.
After, undercover surveillance team had pulled off Biggie to follow one of his associates.
I see girls screaming, people ducking. I hear a couple of shots.
In seconds, Biggie Smalls was dead.
Was they crying? Was they sad?
In the passenger seat.
Was they mourning?
According to the police, no random event, but a well-executed hit by a still unknown assailant. Biggie Smalls became rich and famous, a business that celebrates excess in violence.
When I was dead drunk, man, I couldn't picture it. 50-inch screen on the ring of the sofa. Got two rides, a limousine with the chauffeur.
He died at the age of 24.
Damn, kinda like the life I've lived. Cause I was projected as the positives and it's all. And if you don't know, now you know, you know.
Investigators tell ABC News that unlike the murder of Tupac Shakur, there are eyewitnesses who are willing to talk. Police are preparing a composite sketch of a possible suspect.
Oh, now sketch of the suspect comes up. Now notice,
Out of the box.
now you gotta notice how fast the whites got on this.
But they have no one.
Sicking their best people on it.
Trigger. On Wednesday, they used incredible America's Most Wanted. And reported that
That looks like the short guy.
the Soul Train Awards and by chance videotaped.
I'm gonna go back. I can't freeze it. I can't freeze it, so it's unfortunate. Just
Was that supposed to be a bow tie event that they went to?
it was a party. Depending on how the weather was in Los Angeles, how leisure clothes that they wear. People in LA don't like to admit it's cold, so it can be 50 and they be t-shirt.
In seconds,
What you asking me to do?
Biggie Smalls was dead. Shot like Tupac in the passenger seat.
I need to show it here. Hold on.
In seconds, Biggie Smalls was dead. Shot like Tupac in the
The shortest guy.
according to the police.
I like the shortest guy. Now I'm gonna put this out in LA, and I'm gonna ask for him. Somebody will find him, because the guy who had the gun out at the park the day before you were shot at, we showed him out. Say, I think he got a gun. They brought him to the Good Life and Change down there. Brother David. That was the whole thing started. He was the big brother, because that almost started a whole other thing.
Just moments after, undercover surveillance team had pulled off Biggie to follow one of his associates.
I see girls screaming,
Short of dumping. I'm gonna show it this way
hear
here
a
a second.
couple of shots.
In seconds,
There you go. That little one.
was dead.
The little one with the thicker neck.
In the passenger seat, according to the police.
Moving
No
real fast.
event, a well-executed hit by a still unknown assailant.
Another thing, you need to call in all the bodyguards. Let's call in everybody who was bodyguarding that day.
Business that
Because
celebrates
everybody got, a lot of people got paid the bodyguard, didn't bodyguard nothing.
He died at the age of 24.
What's so funny he's saying?
No, hilarious.
What station is that right here?
This is MTV right here.
In a car in Los Angeles, the LAPD released sketches of the man they think pulled the trigger. On Wednesday, the Houston Chronicle reported that cops got a break when a tipster called the TV true crime show America's Most Wanted and reported that some Houston residents visiting LA to see the Soul Train Awards had by chance videotaped Biggie's murder and the face of his killer. That videotape was confiscated by police on March 18th. Chris Connolly was at the LAPD press conference and he filed this report.
Why don't they show that
Police
face?
today confirmed that they are in possession of a videotape of
This
the
is they will actually show the press conference. They will have this big drawing of
on a visit to Los Angeles. They stress that the composite sketch of the prime suspect in Biggie Small's murder is not based on that videotape. It's based instead on the eyewitness accounts, face-to-face accounts of 2 of the 5 people who were riding in Biggie Small's GMC Suburban when he was gunned down. Police believe that this man was the driver and sole occupant of the dark car which arrived next to Biggie Small's car and opened fire upon him. And they're asking for the public's help in determining who and where this man might be.
A suspect, and the suspect who was described as a young male, African-American, in his early 20s. We believe the vehicle he was driving is a late model, dark car. That has not changed. And is still described as a drive-by shooting with one suspect in the vehicle, and that was the driver of the vehicle who did the shooting. Firing numerous shots into the suburban containing Notorious B.I.G. or Biggie Small. We believe he may be part of more than one individual involved in this shooting, although there was only one shooter in the vehicle. I can tell you that we are going to make an arrest, and I cannot tell you when we're going to make that arrest. We have to, there's a lot left to be done yet.
So the devil is saying that he got somebody to
Police
arrest.
here also said they've interviewed more than
Somebody what?
This is a record. 35
We
separate
are
pieces of
going to
videotape
make
in
an
their
arrest.
I just can't tell you
anyone
when.
who might know the identity or whereabouts of this man to call their 24-hour toll-free number, 1-888-800-LAPD. That's 1-888-800-LAPD. That's it from me. Let's go back to the studio.
Thanks, Chris. Right on schedule, meanwhile, Biggie's new and now posthumous album, Life After Death.
Remember, the picture's not based on the videotape.
Huh?
The picture's not based on the
That makes no
videotape.
sense at all.
Hey, they don't never make no sense. Thank you, baby. Thank you. They don't make any sense ever.
And they said 2 out of 5 identified as that as such.
Well, they even said that the 2 were in the car. That the 2 out of 5 in the car with Biggie. Is that what they said?
Yeah.
Yeah. And when you hear the, I really wasn't gonna do it, but when you hear the Puffy give his description of the moment. When you hear his description of the moment, the way he talks, the impression I got was that no one was in the car with Biggie.
Album, Life After Death, arrived in stores on Tuesday.
The big one, said there were 2 people with him. This man, Little Steve, and the bodyguard driving the car. And Biggie was in the passenger side. So there was only 3 people in the car.
Yeah. Oh yeah, this is first part is talking about did you hire Bloods and Crips?
Gangs to do security for you. Yeah, never.
Yeah, good interview, really. It was an interesting interview.
Gangs for security.
You can see the rest of that interview with Puffy Combs on Sunday night at 10:30 on MTV.
Okay, let's turn to Sunday night at 10:30. These are you who put this together so that I can look at it.
Man, this East Coast, West Coast rivalry. So he wanted to go out there and make sure that the fans heard him say it. So he was doing radio interviews and press interviews. And also he was doing rehearsal for spring break and shooting his video. And that's all he was doing. He decided on those Soul Train Music Awards being presented there with myself. And we decided to go out to the party because we felt it was a private party. It wasn't like we were trying to be out and being seen all over the place. We were trying to go out and go there because it was a private party. So the night of the party, we went there and we basically sat at the table all night. And a lot of people were coming and giving us positive greetings. And everybody at the party was just having a good time and dancing. And we were sitting there just talking all night and just listening to everybody else's music and listening to our own records and feeling a sense of proudness hearing a record and just seeing all the people dance to your music. And that's why we got into this. And so that's time. Oh yeah, I got too crowded and the fire marshals had shut the party down.
They finally busted Armstrong Williams. Independence.
You don't want to believe it.
We got out, so we stood outside for like 5 minutes. And we just talked just about regular people. We talked about
Not me.
we just talked about 2 guys.
What you can't say?
You know what I'm saying? About the party. We got into the car. Time to leave. And my car was in front. And Biggie was in the middle, and then another security vehicle was behind, which had the off-duty officers in.
Off-duty officers? Police?
We left out of the driveway.
Did they have walkie-talkies?
We made a right. And as we made the right, we were just driving, and the vehicles were all behind each other. And I was looking straight ahead, basically, and I just heard shots ring out. And when the shots rang out, I had immediately did the human reaction. I had just ducked down, and everybody in the car ducked down. And then our car was still, had like sped off. And then I heard somebody say Biggie's car had got shot at. And so, like, while my car was moving, I had just opened the door, and the driver, he stopped, and I had jumped out, and I had ran to the car, and I had immediately did that because I knew his leg was broken, so I know there's no way he could have made it out of the car. And then when I went there to the car, I opened up the door, and he was hunched over, and I was trying to talk to him and trying to move him over, and I was trying to tell somebody to call 911, but I was like, by the time they get, I didn't know what was going on. He wasn't talking back to me, so I just told one of the drivers of security to just jump in the car, just take me to the nearest hospital, please.
Where was the driver?
We rushed into the hospital. And there were other cars that were with us and other people that were just following us. And as we got there, everybody helped out of the car.
Oh, I didn't get it. If he had a driver, huh? Did you get the impression that Biggie's in the car by himself or with other people? That's the impression I got.
And then I heard somebody say Biggie's car had got shot at. And so, like,
He didn't hear someone say it. He didn't see him. He didn't see him. He right behind him.
Looking straight ahead.
Right, looking straight ahead. Like I'm looking so straight ahead, I didn't see 3 inches to either side.
Out of the driveway of the parking lot, we made a right. And as we made the right, we were just driving, and the vehicles were all behind each other. And I was looking straight ahead, basically, and I just heard shots ring out. And when the shots rang out, I had immediately did the human reaction. I had just ducked down, and everybody in the car ducked down. And then our car was still, had like sped off. And then I heard somebody say Biggie's car had.
Oh, he said like the car kind of like sped off. He heard that the car was shot. He heard someone speed off.
I thought the car was said he heard shots. Then now he's hearing that the car sped off. Then he's hearing that somebody shot Biggie's car.
Right, he ain't seen nothing.
But between that, he ducked.
It almost sounds like he's talking like he wasn't there or he ain't seen nothing. He was looking straight ahead, like I was looking so straight ahead I didn't see nothing.
Then they said that he was driving, but there's different people that said they were listening to music and that car was stopped. He said we were driving and I heard, but there are people that said that they were there, that they were outside. You know how you listen to your music. Everybody was just out listening to their music, standing in the car. Nobody was driving because the car was like open. So he said that we drive, just like Tupac was driving, but they were saying people were just listening to his music outside of the party, and then bam, bam, bam. They weren't even driving. So then were they driving or was the car stopped?
Yeah, because he doesn't even describe the car coming up on the left side and the right side. Or this shit is real fuzzy-wuzzy,
Plus, if he out front, it's a fire marshal. Okay, where you driving to?
It's like
already out front.
all the players getting killed, but the managers got immunity. I'm sorry, sister, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I just meant...
Yeah, but that's
He
interesting.
was in front of the place. Okay, he's driving away from the place. Why didn't he get shot away from the place he was driving? Because they said his car was there and everybody was congregating and they were listening. This I read in the paper and they were listening to his new music stuff.
which would lead you to believe there's no one in the car because everybody's out listening, except for him because his leg is broken. Everybody else was supposedly congregating around the car listening to his music.
Now remember
And
the shot.
he said they drive.
Right. And the shot I guess we see of the car is in front of the hospital. That shot with the car being taped, you know, with the tape around the car, the police tape. Remember we see the pic when the people turn away? That car must have been at the hospital. Because it couldn't have been at the scene. Yeah, so somebody drive the car to the hospital. That's his comment now. So we had somebody drive the car. I said, let's get a driver.
So, like, when my car was moving, I had just opened the door, and the driver, he stopped, and I had jumped out, and I had ran to the car, and I had immediately did that because I knew his leg was broken, so I know there's no way he could have made it out of the car. And then when I went there to the car, I opened up the door, and he was hunched over, and I was trying to talk to him and trying to bring him. I was trying to tell somebody to call 911, but I just told, like by the time they get, I didn't know what was going on. He wasn't talking back to me, so I just told one of the drivers of security to just jump in the car, just take me to the nearest hospital, please. And we were rushing to the hospital. And there were other cars that were with us and other people that were just following us. And as we got there, everybody helped him out of the car, and I was just, as we were driving, I was talking to him, but I wasn't hearing anything. He wasn't saying anything. And I was just getting scared, you know, because I was just like, I didn't know, like, I was like, why isn't he talking to me? I was just getting scared, but I just started praying over him and praying, just trying to tell him just to stay in there. And then when we got to the hospital, everybody had jumped out the car and helped him pick him up and got him on the stretcher. And the surgeons there immediately rushed him back into the emergency room. And then everybody there just dropped to their knees and started praying because it just didn't look good, it didn't feel good. And that's what happened. And then they came and told us, you know, that he had passed, and it was just unbelievable.
Look at it, that beast there again.
What's that?
How did he break blood?
That would never say. Had a car accident? Okay. Somebody else said something? Somebody else said something?
No.
I didn't hear anything about anybody saying a response to what the killer was doing.
Right, they drove in that direction and we followed them.
They drove off or ran off or walked off. Nothing.
Now remember, the intelligence model is intentions plus capability equal threat. Coakley want to free South Africa. Coakley ain't got no plane ticket. Threat 0. So now somebody's lining up these guys and they're deciding that they're going to shoot them. So now they got to, anytime you're a shooter and you go on an assignment, your thing is you have to assess what options are available to who you're going to shoot you back or to maim or to harm you. And so in a context like that, all these estimates had to be made. And I'm sure the FBI was as good as making it. And was there a relationship between the FBI that was watching them and the police who were bodyguarding them? And who did the FBI drive off to follow? If it wasn't Biggie and it wasn't Puffy, who is this other person that was so important that they drove off after him? Unsolved mystery.
But what about when you travel and you come from one location and you go to another location that another unit, local unit, pick you up?
No question. That's why I did not understand why it would be a New York group of FBI. And did they follow Biggie to every city? If Biggie wasn't performing, it wasn't Biggie's set. He was just there. So what were they observing at a third-party relationship? He wasn't involved in it in any sort of way. Right, and of course we know Tupac was supposedly going with Quincy Jones's daughter. This is Quincy Jones's party for his magazine. So it's intriguing that was that level of overlay. And if it was, what is the relationship between the Genovese Mafia and rap? Well, the reality is gangsters been in music. jukeboxes, payola, playing it on the radio. How you get played? You think somebody say, ooh, that's a nice cut, let me put it on. Somebody brings you the album. My mother used to work for the vice president of Warner Music in the Midwest region. He used to take albums, right, and put the money down the albums. This is when they was using plastic. And he would deliver the albums to the record company with the money down the sleeve of the album. Yeah. 2 tickets to Jamaica, weekend limo service, for any perk that a DJ or a program director could sustain would be provided by the record companies.
Hitman.
Another Hitman, right? The book Hitman that Bruce brought up about the whole relationship of music and reality. That deserves a whole another level of interaction. Yes, brother.
Remember the threat of rap was people like Ice Cube was coming in at #1 with no radio play.
Well, remember Ice-T, who had a cop killer record, and the point was, if you back down off this, he said, I fear for the safety of the Time Warner executives, therefore I pulled the record. He feared for the safety of the honkies, who he said were getting threatened over producing his record after they had already produced it. So you see more of him in movies than records. I mean, you got to look at all these relationships have killed. The records have killed the relationships between the men and their music. Cube more in the movies, now they're making music.
Cube, #1 movie.
He got a snake chasing his ass. He thought it was just a
movie. #1 movie for 2 weeks. Anaconda.
Anaconda.
You heard his new album?
Huh?
You heard his new album?
No.
West Side Connection?
No.
All gangsters.
Talking gangsterism?
All West Coast gangsters.
Playing into the...
Totally.
And then at the picture from Farrakhan's house, he's hugging some brother he had some rivalry with. Yeah, Chicago. They're all at the minister's house signing a peace agreement. Now, one thing you don't want to get caught doing when somebody warring on you is signing some treaty with unknown parties. I'm going to sign a peace treaty to be peaceful. I'm being attacked. And you being attacked by unknown sources. Things you ain't, how come they wouldn't put money at, each one of them throw 1,000 to make a posse to hunt down the murderers? I told you all, Negroes don't want to hunt perpetrators. The hunt. The power is in the hunt. To hunt down these people. And there's weight in the hunt because people who smell the foxes near their tail begin to talk and sing and tweet and fly. And I remember the situation around college when people who didn't feel they had the answer started talking because they could smell the foxes on their tail. And rather than be bit as a rabbit, they started talking like a turtle. I didn't know nothing. I was asleep. I was in another room. I don't remember this. They never told me till the next day.
Okay.
Yeah. Check. That was Minister Farrakhan saying he didn't know Khalid had been shot until the day after. He was locked in prayer or meditation or something, which is a plausibly denied. But as the fox got near his tail, he started talking. I mean, bring Khalid Muhammad to Chicago. Let's talk about this Coakley and this other thing with this assassination. I want to know everything that they're saying about this. That's not no worry to anybody, really. And I remember so distinctly that first weekend there was much tension. And I remember the minister goes to Vegas. Well, we in LA, the minister goes to Vegas, and Irv Rubin of the JDL, the military arm of the ADL, who was at the Riverside College that day, and in a key piece of film, with Khalid confronting them, the one boy who eventually had the little penknife on him is drawing back like he's going to go to his coat as Khalid walks up to him, right out in front of the venue at Riverside College. And that was a very intriguing moment. Let's walk around. I would never want you to underestimate what it means to terrorize someone at a lecture. This was a very powerful moment. I can't freeze these things. This is a very powerful moment. Anytime you walk up on an attack, it isn't the moment of the attack. It isn't the moment of the attack that becomes your primary focus, but all those things around the attack, even the pre-moments. The pre-moments are as important as the moment, because the moment is just maybe 5 or 6 or 7 pre-moments down the setup process. Do you remember where you were before Riverside?
Which school?
Yeah, what city? What area before you were in California? I mean, you were in California that weekend, but where were you in the week of the time prior to coming to L.A.?
I think I was in Grambling, Louisiana at Grambling.
Down there, you remember, feel anything, notice anything, feel unusual, unordinary? Grambling was a tough spot to go to because I went down there, they had to put me in a garage. They couldn't even have me on the campus, they had to go to some garage. My brother had the bookstore down there. In fact, he was out here the night of the Million Man March, and we were out here on the veranda that night. It's rough down there, heavy military area. This is the shot of Brother Khalid in dress prior to an event, a 1,000-person event, sold out, $10 a head, held the day before the assassination attempt at Riverside College. Marley Gibbs Crossroads, or Vision Complex. And this event is African Liberation Day at the park across the street. And this was a very dangerous evening because at that park, prior to Khalid coming, and man, you know, it just made me think about something about this, is that, what's that program, Cops, were they going to get you thing with the song on it? Bad Boys. They went and did a Cops Bad Boys show, whatever that was, on the woman who allegedly shot the gun that made the police surround the park while you're on your way to the park. While Khalid is on his way to this park to speak, before his event across the street, Lamert Park, something happens and the police allege that a woman who had shot a gun ran into the park, and so the police surround the park totally. And the people in the park hold arms and make an inner circle around the external police circle, and then there's this standoff. What are you gonna do? Khalid is on his way. The police say they heard a shot. Now maybe they were shot triggered, meaning that supposedly there's gonna be a shot. When the shot comes, we gotta move in. The shot. That wasn't that shot. Or this precipitating factor that made the police come in such strong force. And I'm looking for another videotape. Yes.
Like Sister Angela says that she's still here.
No.
When they were at E-Front Cafe having a meeting at the students that were taking over the administration building, that the police came up saying they were looking for a stolen U-Haul. Came in force, you know, and just snooping around. End up, brother moved the table, moved chair out the sidewalk, end up 70 cop cars came to E-Front and arrested the students. That was about 2 weeks ago and stuff, you know. Precipitating event. You know, they just happened to have a call.
Yeah, that's interesting moment. But this. Every time I see this, it gives me the chills because it was a very powerful discussion. I think at this time we're in a garage in Oakland. I had not. I don't know if I had the footage of the event around the park at that moment, and I thought I had brought that videotape with me, which would show you what is going on around the park as the minister's on his way. Now, similarities. You shoot Malcolm at a lecture. Khalid shot at a lecture. You shoot Malcolm in front of his family. You try to shoot Khalid in front of his son. The whole demonstration of terrorism is to frighten the witnesses. You pick a principal, the principal may never be afraid. But the witnesses, if you can isolate a person, See, the build-up, the repudiation from the Senate and the House, all of these things were to compel isolation, which is a pre-assassination moment, to isolate the person. Here we are. This is the park prior to Khalid arriving.
The African United Front is marching on the first enemy, holding up Julius Butler.
These are the people in locked arms, holding out the police. Helicopters everywhere. Khalid's on his way to the event. And this street video now, this ain't ABC or nothing now. So we say, why the man can't? Because this is happening. People are in there. Their lives are in jeopardy. Everybody got to feel the tension. But this is only the first of several events. We come to find out later that James Best is right across the street at this moment. He's right across the street. So I just the way that man rolled up there, I didn't like the way it moved, so I just kept pointing at it.
For the liberation and salvation of the black nation, I speak of none other than the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Today I greet you, my beloved and beautiful sisters and brothers and mothers. Shalom, 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 alafia. One of the few brothers in the nation greets everybody in their own way. In their own way. A few moments, as we, the family, come together, Africans and their powerless fathers, and focus on the freeing of our political prisoners, we will be just across the street in a few minutes. And we will be there at the Vision Center. But let me say, that's not a gift. Let's cheer strong, sister. And it's the brother who drove him around, killed an outfire. Now, I raised some questions about him when I was raised to you. Not about him, but about that weekend. He drove power around that shit in a rebuild of the government. He wasn't there Sunday. So remember him telling me he really wished he had gone on Sunday, but he didn't. Over the past 6,000 years, we have not only undergone a Holocaust, we've paid a terrible cost.
Those are all the straight-tied brothers in the background.
Between Africa and America. Just a few more words here.
They were told they couldn't secure me with bow ties.
They were told that they couldn't secure you in bow ties.
They shouldn't give the nation image. Only they could secure me, but they had to. They could secure me, but they couldn't look like the Nation of Islam. The orders from Chicago. So they had to be out of uniform, either no bow tie or wear a straight tie.
That's the unofficial move. The unofficial move. In fact, the night they
unofficial move.
Right. The night, in fact, that I got fired and they had the little rally for me on the west side, they all came in straight ties, including the minister, right? And I'm wearing bow ties, right? They all came in straight ties. I got it right over there, all in straight ties. Yeah, the minister, Leonard, everybody got on straight ties.
I gotta see you in the bow tie.
Oh, yeah, you got it. Oh, that was for sure. They seen it. That was old work days.
I would make you a captain if you had a bow tie.
Right. Khalid used to call me over. He'd look at me, he said, brother, you need clothes. Can I get you a haircut? Can I get you a haircut, brother? What can I do for you? But most importantly was that even while all those things were going on, that was after the Columbus Day thing, that Khalid sensed I was having financial trouble and they got the brothers together to help me pay my rent, which was always my monthly revolution, was to pay rent. And want to submit to Khalid and brother on the gurney, brother James, to talk to me, right? Come on, brother. He just have no words, right? He just. And then when Sawyer hires me, and I'm in the mayor's office, and they attacking him, said, "Why?" He said, "Well, he didn't have no clothes. I had to buy him clothes. I bought him suits and shoes." And so you can follow all my life, people buying clothes, right? Who buy my clothes now? Sister? Because I will buy none. God knows I don't buy no clothes. That's right.
And the so-called Jews and other crackers around the earth.
How's Lil Farrakhan doing?
Doing great.
Yeah, his voice getting a little deeper there. Last time I saw him, voice got a little, you know, hi, brother Steve. He's got a little hump in there. Let me pull this tape out and move a little bit more towards some deeper footage. That night, Brother Khalid, the Vision Theater is packed. You're the hottest thing in the country, brothers. It's from 1600 with Malik here in Crampton. Around the country, it's packed. Everywhere. Remember the Baltimore move with Sister Pat? Pat Newton, and just everything is jam-packed, and the intensity of the people and the feelings are so strong. And now you're back to LA, where you are very strong. And now these 1,000 people come out to the Vision Theater, and the program going, and then all of a sudden something starts to happen while you're talking. What happens?
We get a note or word that gas is, quote unquote, escaping in the parking lot from some kind of gas main.
Another note again now, right?
And so my old Supreme Captain tactics went into effect then. Supreme Captain tactics went into effect, which was during the time that Steve was talking about. We were trying to recruit him into the Nation of Islam, the period he was just talking about. So all of those tactics went into effect from Captain Rashid and others. So immediately I knew that if that spread throughout the audience, that a stampede would take place. People would start stampeding for the door. So I said, if the gas is escaping in the parking lot, we're all inside. So let's stay inside where there's no gas. Let's continue the lecture. And everybody just be calm, I said, and have a seat. Now, Brother Steve can fill you in on...
Meantime, someone asked to see Wazir Muhammad at the side door. The way the Vision Theater was is two double or triple doors down on the corner of the stage in each side. The gas is supposedly out in this parking lot, and little did we know that James Edward Best is out there in that same parking lot.
Correct.
This is the alleged shooter of the next day.
And he's seen outside with 2 or 3 other men with him.
Right. And he calls Wazir to come out to the door. And Wazir goes to the door.
He went to the
door. And then, as the so-called gas comes, it's my understanding that the lights got to flickering and the mic stopped vibing. So now you're dealing with multiple coordination of moments now. Now, Best is a man who then drove all the way down from Seattle. Remember, the last person who vouched for seeing Best the weekend before was the gentleman Brock. And we made an excellent point when the ADL, who was in on the setup,
Brock of
reparation thing in Cobra. They know Brock. He be right here in D.C. working with these spotlight people. And Brock used to sit right in the hotel, right over in the lobby. But after them days when I lined him up. Now, how Brock got off was Khalid Muhammad let him off. That when we had him trapped with the 4 questions about having been with Best the weekend before, Eric said, Steve Coakley said that Steve Coakley 10 times says 2 bits of the question, and Brock says, I ain't getting into what Steve Coakley said, and that was the answer. Let it stop right there. We had him up in New York. He came up to Eric's place I was there June 10th. He came right before me, like June 1st, June 4th, somewhere in there. And he was very evasive, but it was the ADL report that tried to make Brock and Khalid buddies. But Brock had told me distinctively that he didn't like Khalid, and that he liked Best. And he said, what do you want me to do, tell you that he told me he was going to go kill him? Brock said that Best asked him to ride with him down to Los Angeles. And then that's when I got a call from the people in Fresno. As the people in Fresno saw Best drive through town with several people, he stops in Fresno, because supposedly his brother or somebody was from Fresno, California. Somewhere Fresno was hooked. And the Fresno people called me to tell me that Best was there before he came on to Los Angeles. Best had a disproportionate amount of money, $25,000 he had received. He was in a car that was not his. He was at the scene and got locked out of his car. And the police, without him even having a registration slip, without him even having ownership, he didn't even have the keys, jimmied the car and opened the car up so he could get the guns out the car to come into the plaza area. Heavy series of things that had to happen for the patsy to get pulled into this area.
This was the sack with the 3 9mm in it.
Right, that allegedly was found in the area.
But the 30-06 rifle with the scope was still supposedly in the vehicle that the cops opened, Jimmy the lock to open to let Best into while the lecture was going on.
And what was Martin King shot with?
30-06.
30-06. And he was called on the balcony at what time? 3 minutes to 6. He was dead at what time? And Colin, it was 6 o'clock when you was outside of that building. 6 o'clock.
Was the rifle in the car or the truck?
I'm not sure.
Someone said the back seat.
I'm not sure if it was in the trunk, in the back seat, or where.
And again, drop what you're doing. This is
Okay, this should take us to the day of. The key things they tried to do with Best. One was to say that motive. You always got to develop a motive. So the motive, this is Brother Jamal interviewing the student leader who was out there at that moment. And at the Marla Gibbs event, as the doors swing open, because those doors did open up on that side, did they not? These are those type of doors. That's at Riverside, actually. But Marla Gibbs had these kind of double set of doors there on the side of the stage, on both sides. And in fact, that they swing those doors open. I'm going to tell you exactly what I found, that the brothers who were acting like the nation on that side of the building asked those people to start coming out that door. They tried to get them up, those people in that left-hand section, and move them out. You said open up them doors in the back. Because people was moving, people started running and scurrying and getting real systematic
Yeah, that
thing.
was the nation that night. They were not acting.
Right.
That was Mosque number 27,
Right.
West Coast Regional Headquarters, where I had been minister before.
Right.
They were allowed to be on post with me
That night.
They were not there at Cal State.
The next night.
Riverside.
Which was interesting because that day they had to be in straight tie. That night they was in bow tie.
Correct.
And now you got this weird series of events unfolding there in the auditorium. What you see, brother?
Sure, tap over here. It's some tap.
It's a what? Oh, okay. Okay, so, wrong tape again. Let's go, this is now, this should take you behind, now let's let me, I'm just going to show this, you can see this while we're talking over it, but this is now the day of, and after this incident with the doors opening up, the speech went on. It was a strong night. Audience was wild. Thing was strong. That night after, this is the brush. That night after the program, you go and eat. You're out in the community. Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles. Right. And the question would be, well, what operation was shifting around during that period? Now, this is the day of the shooting attempt. tree cut out. Who else was shot with a 30-06 in a row of bushes?
King.
Martin King, thank you. With a 30-06. Now notice how thick the brushes are. Thick, 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 open. You see that? Thick, 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 open. Now the question is, the bushes that are open, is this been open or just open? Now the brothers are, this is natural. The brothers are on the scene. They're naturally trying to figure something out. This is what you need to do more often. Just naturally try to figure. So don't assume people who are even proficient in this are being naturally moving through it. Now look, they're looking down at the bushes. Brother Keedy and Brother Jamal.
I mean, you see it unroll right before. You just got to say, damn, there's a hole in the back of the fence.
Now let's look back at the area as Khalid is being brought out on men's shoulders. That's the door he would have went out of. This is where the cars were trapped in that area there, wasn't it? Cars all turned backwards or something. And he would have been carried right on out this door, and that person would have had that shot. That was their shot.
Let's stop.
Let's stop, okay? And I just wish I could freeze it.
It's more significant to understand not so much the coming out. That's important because that would have given the second chance at the assassination. But it's more important to understand that when I arrived in a security motorcade, that I realized that none of the officers from Mosque number 27 in Los Angeles were present. None of the key men who were there the night before at the big event at Marla Gibbs in Los Angeles were present, and Riverside is not an hour outside of Los Angeles. In this security motorcade, you had one, I can't think of his name, I wish the little was here, he could help me. No, this,
Salim.
It's gonna come up in a few minutes. I can't think of his name. He was in charge. This is a man very inexperienced. Me having been a regional captain, a local captain, and the supreme captain, naturally I'm studying security.
Right.
So when the motorcade pulled in, I saw all the white folks protesting outside. Just a sea of crackers outside with placards, chanting all kind of, he's a hater, he's a this. Then I could see the so-called white Jews with Irv Rubin and the Jewish Defense League, cops everywhere. Me looking immediately and not seeing a captain or a lieutenant or not even a squad leader that I recognized from the headquarters mosque. I saw only inexperienced brothers, new brothers, or what we call processing brothers. So immediately I tell them, stop the caravan right here. I want to get out, not to go and hide somewhere. I want to get out and get right in the middle of the protest so I can coordinate the security. His name is going to come to me in a minute. Nobody wanted me to get out of the car. They wanted me to stay in the car, which would have come down, would have made a right turn on the side of the building where I was to speak, and would have gone to this exact spot in the back of the building, which would have been directly across from the cutout shrubbery and even the chain link fence.
Which had a hole in it.
Had been cut out with wire cutters. We would have taken a right turn with the caravan, gone to that backstage door.
Who could have helped you back there? Who was back there to help you? What would have, the point, it separated you in
Nobody would have known what happened in the back of the building.
There you go.
The shot could have been made either from a prone position, from the bushes, or a standing position. Probably wouldn't have even known where the shot came from because, as Brother Jamal was just pointing out, it was from a knoll. It was a grassy knoll.
Slightly elevated.
Slightly elevated.
Just like the bush.
Made the shot, made the hit, could have wiped out the whole security team with a 30-06.
Right.
Then, with just a few steps casually on the other side of the fence, you would have been right on another street in the housing section of the university.
Right.
Casually got into the car, everybody could have driven away undetected.
With the bushes so thick, you couldn't see. You wouldn't have seen what someone who did something on the inside. On the outside, you could have known that they did that because the brush being that thick.
So, immediately I said, stop the car. They didn't want to stop the car. They wanted me to stay in the so-called security caravan. My instinct, I want to be in the middle of all of this because I want to coordinate it and deal with all of these crackers and everybody that's outside. So they wouldn't stop the vehicle. I opened the door with the car still rolling, not knowing I'm saving my life. I jump out and I had to get my balance as I jump out. I close the door and tell them to go on and park the vehicle. First thing, if I would have gone with the caravan, then I would have had all of them to turn the vehicles around at the back door. That's standard operating procedure in the nation. But which would have paid off, and I would have gotten out of there quicker after I was shot. But all of the cars were turned in the wrong direction, had the
blacks and ask for there to be no searching, as if their life wouldn't be in jeopardy under such a circumstance.
Absolutely. So, with so many of them there. Right, also interested in on February 21st, 1965, and that Sunday at the Audubon Auditorium, it was approximately 400 or 500 presents. Anyway, I get in, I take over the check room, I set up all of the security.
Sunday too.
And I say that if, because I saw no other officers, I said if the JDL was to come in, then they had to be searched. And I was going to search them myself. So you can pay, first of all, you got to pay. You pay and I'll search you myself. If you don't get searched, you don't come in. So I took over the check room, I searched Herb Rubin, I searched his boy, I searched one of them and he had a knife, took his knife from him, turned his knife over to the brother that I put over the check room. Then told the others, escort them to their seats. So the key that I'm making here is, it appears that the hit would have gone down before I spoke if I would have stayed with the caravan and gone into that backstage door. I spoke the entire lecture. As Brother Steve pointed out, as we were in the question and answer period, and it was rocking. By this time, the crowd had grown and grown. Herb Rubin and others had been there, but mysteriously, close to the end of the lecture, Herb Rubin and all of the white folks left. They all left. Cops started disappearing completely. Just as at the Audubon Auditorium, members of BOSS were supposed to be present, the Bureau of Special Services and other undercover agents were there along with the Negro, Gene Roberts, and those who were inside of the OAAU. Another contingent of New York PD was supposed to be present at the Audubon. Mysteriously, none of the undercover cops pulled a service revolver the day that Malcolm was assassinated, and none of that special contingent of New York PD were on hand. Conveniently, they were not on hand when the assassination of Malcolm went down. All right. We get the note during the question and answer period stating that the students would have to pay extra money if we stayed in the auditorium, that it was now, I guess, 6 o'clock or whatever time, and we had to leave. So during this time, there was a panic, it appears. There was a panic because I didn't come in the back door. That spoiled everything.
Right.
James Best locks the guns and everything up, somebody locked them up, in his car and the keys, and he couldn't get in.
Couldn't get in.
The news reports say that while I'm speaking, the police, somebody in the dormitory calls the police, and the police come to the scene, which is on the other side of that fence, on the other side of those bushes. The police come to the scene, and in the police coming to the scene, they jimmy the locks and make a way for James Best and those who were with him to get into the vehicle to get the gun. So that fouled everything, it spoiled everything, it foiled everything, it spoiled it. So we get the note and I say to the students, we're going to finish the question and answer period, but we'll go outside. We'll go out in front of the building. So somehow, I got out of the caravan and didn't go in the back door. Somehow, and it's time for me to leave, since they didn't hit me going in, it was understood we'll get him going out. He'll come out of the door, backstage door, that he didn't come into. But when I got the note, I went out the front door and took everybody out the front door with me, still not knowing what danger was lurking at the back door.
Instinct.
I was only outside for a few minutes, and it's important that an argument broke out just seconds before I was shot. The argument broke out between the handful of inexperienced new Muslims and one or two supposed to have been seasoned, but were from out in the San Bernardino, Rialto, Fontana, Riverside, Pomona area, who I did not know anything about. The key brother there who was with me was brother Stanley 2X, who had pretty much been trained by me but had become estranged at the mosque because he had such a military bearing and posture. They had pretty much pushed him out. He had started organizing among the Bloods and the Crips, who were trucing. They had taken off their blue and their red that day, and they had on all black. They were standing posts around me, big brothers, ex-Crips, ex-Bloods, under Brother Stanley 2X's command. The argument broke out that they shouldn't be around me, as though they were trying to remove the hedge of security from around me. I immediately said, no, let these brothers stay here and you coordinate security with them. So the brothers from the nation and ex-Crips and Bloods wearing all black, all of you can work together. A Chicano brother, a Mexican brother, one of the indigenous brothers, raised the question. That was the first and only question. He raised the question, how could the black and the brown work together? As I started to answer his question about the black and the brown working together, as I'm standing about like this, speaking to the crowd, about 2 o'clock to my right, I hear shots ring out. As the shots rang out about 2 o'clock to my right, almost in a split second, I'm looking for Farrakhan. And my son was only 9. My son Farrakhan was 9 years old at that time. I'm looking for Farrakhan. As I see somebody swoop Farrakhan, bullets flying all around him, out of the line of fire. By this time, one brother hits me low, one brother hits me high, and as they begin to cover me, I didn't know this at that time, but several of the brothers around me, Crips, Bloods, shot in the chest, in the shoulder. They took all of the first hits. And I caught a graze across the right leg and a direct hit right here. And I said, damn, I'm hit. And
what'd that feel like?
It didn't hurt. It didn't even burn. It didn't hurt. I mean, I ain't lying. I ain't but it didn't hurt. That's all I can tell you. It didn't hurt. It rested a fraction of a millimeter from the main artery of the leg, according to the doctor's report. So, by this time, my other instinct kicks in. Everybody's screaming, hollering, men running, everybody's running. Stanley 2X. Well, first, one of the ex-gang members hits James Best to tackle him to take the gun, according to what the report is. I couldn't see all of this from my position. And as they fight over the, when he hits him, he slips the first brother, breaks his tackle. He's determined to kill me. Now the report was that there were 2 or 3 others with bow ties on that got away. That I cannot verify, but there are many reports that say that it was true.
Yeah, the Sentinel reported it, the Final Call reported the bow tie man.
And at this point, Stanley 2X, like a blitzing linebacker, hits him, fights him to the ground. The gun is to Stanley 2X's stomach. They fight for the gun. Stanley is able to take the gun from James Best on the ground. Training that I gave him, which was training that was given to me by my captain, Rashid, was that once you take the gun in a situation like that, if it's FBI, CIA, if it's cop, if it's nigger, if it's whatever, if it's so-called brother, I don't care who it is, in that situation, once you take the gun, in that situation, then you must take that person's life. You must kill him. Stanley 2X fights, takes the gun, and at that second they're on the ground. He puts the gun, fighting on the ground, and then he puts the gun to James Best's head. A Negro who's still in the mosque to this day, who used to be the minister in Rialto, California, named Billy X. He's a body and fender man. Billy X reaches down, according to Stanley, and Stanley sees his hand. Stanley is getting ready to pull the trigger. Billy reaches down, grabs the barrel of the gun, the 9mm, raises it up from James Best's head. And by this time, the crowd is kicking him and stomping him. The gun flies out of Stanley's head like a fumble football. Stanley 2X is fighting for the gun to get another chance because he knew my first question was going to be, and that was the first question out of my mouth. He knew my question, and he didn't want to hear that question. He was not able to answer it in a purpose. The first question I was going to ask was, did he get away? And If he didn't get away, did we kill him? That was the first thing I asked. Did we kill him? And he said, I tried. And he was hurt. You know, he had tears in his eyes. He said, I tried, but Billy took the gun up from his head. And that was never thoroughly investigated by the Nation of Islam. I never have been in a meeting with Billy X, nor a hearing. Now I'll have my own. But I never had one with any of the security of the nation. At that point, he never got a chance to kill him, and Stanley did get the gun. This time the gun jammed, or something else happened. By this time the cops, a handful, appeared from somewhere.
4, in fact, just 4.
Yeah, just 4.
With no guns drawn.
No guns drawn in a situation where gunfire is everywhere.
Right. Never had they run into a scene without
a possible, what is California? Possible 187?
Well, yeah, right. That's
possible 187. When you're in and out of penitentiary in jail, you know the code. A possible 187 in progress. And they never drew their service revolver at all. They fight for Best and drag him unconscious.
By his face.
By his face on the ground, out of the crowd, by his limp. And by this time, everybody's screaming, hollering, running everywhere. So I'm able to stand with holding some brothers, and so then I have to take charge of the situation. Somebody said, well, let's lay him on the table. I could hear this. Let's lay him on the table until the ambulance comes. I said, God damn it, don't lay me on no damn table. Get me to the goddamn hospital. I'll lay there and bleed to death before these crackers get here. So I took somebody's tie, and on a straight tie. And when I took their straight tie, you know, I made the tourniquet to stop the blood. To stop the blood immediately. So we commandeered, once we went through the crowd and went through everybody. My son was, at first he was crying, Daddy, Daddy, they shot my daddy. And so I looked at him. I didn't want him to go into a state of shock. So I immediately looked at him. I said, I'm all right. And he still didn't hear it. I said, God damn it, I'm all right. And he looked at me and said, I think that's my daddy. That's the way he sounds. He's all right. And so then the next thing out of his mouth was, kill him. Kill him, God damn it, they shot my daddy. So I knew he had snapped back. And so they got us back to the back of the building, now at this door where it possibly would have all taken place. We commandeered one of the brothers named, I think his name Brother Larry, who was a close friend of Brother Wazir. We get in his daughter's brand new Lexus, and their Lexus, convertible, blood everywhere. And he said, don't worry about it. We get in, nobody knows where the hospital is. That's one of the main things you're taught in the FOI. When you're having an event, you got to know where the nearest hospital, the nearest trauma unit. You got to know the ETA from that location to the hospital. You got to have all these things. You got to run the route as the captain or the lieutenant. You run the route and you do all of that prior to the event. None of that was done. So we in the car don't know where the hell the hospital is. And I'm giving orders, barking orders. We not stopping for no lights. We ain't stopping for nothing. Let's go. Pause at the intersection. Keep going. And we almost had a wreck. We swerved around the car. Finally, we make it. We asking people, where's the hospital? Where's the hospital? Finally, we find the hospital. Then when I get to the hospital, cops pull up Stanley 2X's in the car with me. I didn't know all this time he still had the gun. Cops knew he had the gun because somebody told him he had it. Cops came from everywhere. When they get out of the car and the brothers are holding me and I get out of the car, all I can hear is the staccato of guns cocking all around me. All around me.
And remember too that they closed the fence after your car got out, which shouldn't have got out because the way they had the cars put in. After your car got out, they closed everyone else into the compound of the university, and they laid out there for 45 minutes before they could get out. All the other people.
Yeah, they did lay there.
Yeah, they laid there for 45 minutes.
So all of the guns cocked. So again, my training from Captain Rashid snapped in again. So immediately I've got to try to stand on these legs and lean there bleeding now and take charge. And I said, you know, put them goddamn guns away. So I'm moving toward the cops. Stanley, they want the gun from Stanley. Naturally, Stanley is a soldier. He ain't giving up the gun. He said, I'm not giving the gun to nobody but him. So ultimately, we get the weapon. I'm not knowing if Bess's fingerprints are going to be on it or if somebody else's is going to be on it. So, and we knew Stanley's would be on it. So the gun is passed on before we can get in the hospital. And all the cops finally leave, I go in. That's the point from there. Now, during this period,
let me just say this before you get I'm gonna take the donation while brother's talking, please do it quietly. I need your support. Do what you can do. I gotta slide through you very quietly. We're on wind down time, so I'm just gonna make the move. I got you. I know, and I'm trying to sister asked especially for me to be on time tonight. So I do want to respect her wishes. So we just gotta do this quietly. Go ahead, brother.
What was your question, Attorney Shabazz?
What happened to the other men who were shot? What happened?
As he said, the other men stayed there for approximately 45 minutes before an ambulance came. These are a blessing. They were tough men. But one of them got out of the hospital before I did. And 2 weeks later, he was shot 9 times.
That's right. That's right.
In a gang incident, he was shot 9 times. And a week later, he was out again. And all of them are doing fine. All of them are doing fine. Again, they were trained well from the streets and trained by Brother Stanley Tuet. We get in the hospital, of course, immediately they check and find, they later do the x-rays, they do everything, find out that the bullet is just about resting on the main artery of the leg. And the rest is, the process of the hospital and the process of making the decisions for the operation and all of that. And how are you treated? Treated quite well in the hospital. All the devils knew who I was. They wrote a story about the so-called Jew who was sitting at home watching TV, and he was called because he had to come in and do something. Or he had to run a catheter. They had to run catheters in my leg and release some kind of fluid to see where the damage was and all of that. So during that process later, I had to learn how to walk all over again, go through that kind of whole therapy and the whole thing. Numbness in the whole leg under the bottom of the foot. This leg was all right in terms of feeling and sensitivity. The Jew talked about in the media how he felt having to come to the hospital. He didn't know what it was until he got there and realized that it was me. And so you can imagine what kind of situation that is with us not having our own hospital. You get wounded and you got to go to the enemy to get patched up. My heart stopped beating on the operating table, according to this. Heart stopped beating on the operating table, and well, the devil could have just made a tactical decision at that moment to leave it like it was. But through, no doubt, the same intervention that kept me from going in that back door and kept me from going out of that back door of the Almighty and the spirit of the Egun, or the ancestors, my heart, they worked with me until my heart started beating again. And basically, that would be the key points that would probably bring us back up to. Now, it's important to me that I can stand here. There were so many parallels, as you heard Minister Farrakhan in this city in February of '94 when he gave his press conference after the President, Vice President, Senate, Congress, the Jews, Jesse Jackson, Ben Chavis, Kwesi Nkrumah, Bill Gray, everybody you can imagine, the Catholic Church also. So he said at the beginning of that day of his repudiation of me, he paralleled it with the history of Malcolm and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And what makes me feel good and thankful to the Creator and the ancestors is for me, even tonight, on this forum, invited by my brother and colleague in the struggle, Brother Steve Coakley, is to, and Brother Attorney Malik Zulu Shabazz, I see Brother Talib just came in, Sister Medina and others, as we struggle together, is to have the opportunity to stand here and be able to tell you this. That's right. Malcolm didn't get this opportunity after Sunday, February 21st, 1965. But I do have enough sense to understand that Malcolm's was an assassination. Mine was an assassination attempt. And an assassination attempt means that there's still somebody who's unhappy that I'm still alive.
Check.
Yeah.
And then that then begins the process of the crackdown in Howard. Now, since it survives the attack, that now the venues have to be cut. And then the options to reoccur become diminished. And the town begins to go on lockdown or change as Washington starts the transformation. And just one last thing in closing. This is the brother at the fence. And he's now looking at the bushes. And they're going to make this just quite accidentally discovery. Anybody interested in tonight's tape? $1, $2, 2, 3. Okay. Look at the bushes. Look at the trees. Look at that. Fresh cut wood. Fresh cut wood. Brand new fresh cut to make that hole. Remember, it's bush, hole. Now, just by happening, now this brush is just pushed together. And as he looks at that brush, you see the fresh cut tree. He then walks in. Let's follow that hole. So he walks in the hole. He walks in the hole. Said, let's walk in the hole. That's the front. That's where the shooting was, out in the front. Goes back to the front again, but they go back to that fence and they get right back out. He wants to show that when you actually get outside of that fence, that's the actual shooting spot right off of those railings. Police drug vest right up that walkway there. Next lecture will be Tuesday night. There will not be the Howard program. The group had a fight last night and broke up.
Oh, break it down.
The group had a fight last night and broke up. And so I asked the sister, so this is now getting to the end of the fence, seeing that there's a hole cut actually into barbed wire fence. And again, this is the shot looking back. The group broke up. I'm still going to be out here tomorrow evening. I'm going to be out front. The cafe will be closed. Some of them will come over to explain to me what happened to the Howard Coalition. Oh, yeah. You all have seen Brother Jamal. He was here when we did Can I Cut a Hole in Your Fence? He gotten up to the Slave Theater a couple of times now. Yeah. And believe me, probably they didn't even want it. They didn't want to go. They didn't want to go. Uh-oh, now come on, we can't bust the box. Must be promoted. Put it on the tape. Okay. If you just see him walk to the back of the fence, for those of you who want tapes, we'll take care of that. Lecture next Tuesday. Please straighten the chairs out. When it's time to go, we want to leave the cafe in a decent, respectful condition.
Pick up paper and trash in the garbage.
Put the paper, look at the fence. This is actual cutting the fence. And the security, we pulled the logs of security. They have 3 shifts. No security log shows anyone checking the peripheral of the fence, noticing a hole in it. In other words, as security makes their rounds, every half an hour they have to make a notation on the log book. No log book notation denoted that there has been a hole in the fence, which is excessively important. And while we're standing here, I'm going to push this all the way to the moment of. I think you might get a good shot of the moment of, and you'll find it quite interesting. Who are the people who wanted tonight's tape? 1, 2, Moses and 2, 3, Brother Donald Brown 4. I appreciate you all. I appreciate you, I most appreciate Brother Khalid Muhammad on his off night, spending the evening with us to share with us some insight. And this is something we can talk about for an hour or two because there's so many integral parts to this. You must learn after this. I never took for granted anything anybody ever said. I remember watching this from Maryland on my way to California, and the discrepancies were running that night. They were showing him at the par saying he was killed right after he was shot right after He was shot right after that speech, which was the day before. They were showing you in Lamert Park, and this is now kind of coming back in to go first he had back up. Now this is remember they said the killer was in a white shirt and a bow tie. And we always show Best laying in the ground in a straight tie. Stripes, and tried to say that Best had never been to jail before. They perpetrated that in the public, and we had to push on his criminal record as a sister killed his brother in the face with a gun. Killed another man when he wouldn't buy a final call. He stabbed his eye out. Got 10 years and got time served. Got no time in jail for it. Muhammad speaks at that time. An old Muslim.
He's charged with the attempted murder of all Muslims Khalid Muhammad. That crime counts as assault to the ground against Muhammad al-Bodyguard in the right hand. And guilty, making no statement about the shooting alcohol.
He gave a not guilty plea. He wasn't woke yet. The boy was still, look, no conspiracy acted alone. What's the MO of the government? The patsy. Always immediately, with no evidence, they start the process. Didn't you say they sent rats to you in jail? You still get death threats on the hospital phone? It's the hospital scene. And maybe I just leave it on as everybody going out. There it goes. All these dubious comments from the announcers about what happened there at the set. DSLA got a series of news clips going in. This is after it at first happened. I hadn't quite gotten it all down yet. Saying you shot after that speech in African clothes. This is a film of that, and this man here, very intriguing. One of the best responses.